I have no idea what's going to happen in Game 3.
Well, here's what you do know. Giannis is going to dominate.
Yes.
See, I love to see Jalen Brown get going in Game 2, and that was the difference. But Giannis is constant MVP-level player on both ends of the floor that as long as he continues to attack at home and they got a split on the road, I think that bodes well for the Bucks. Their role players are going to play better at home. Pat Connaughton is going to play. Grayson Allen, Wesley Matthews, you're going to see him doing his bow and arrow thing. You're going to see Bobby Portis flexing and doing his dance. But the guy that is the best player in the league that nobody talks about, my guy right there. Holiday. He leads the way. And when you watch he and Marcus Smart, who I hope is healthy for this series at some point.
Yep. Likely that he plays.
Watching those two guys is like watching
it's like the Spider-Man
MMA. It's like the 2 point guards doing MMA, like they grappling, they fighting through screens.
Flopping.
Yeah, exactly. Flopping, they pushing big guys, guarding guys. It's the opposite of watching John Steph. You know, they're so like
graceful, finesse.
Absolutely, and you get mesmerized by watching them play offense. Like, these two guys do all of the things that ain't highlights. And they got the same defensive stats. One of them is a defending champion. One of them is Defensive Player of the Year.
Some tells me Giannis heard everybody talking about how great Grant Williams was at guarding him.
I love Grant Williams.
Some tells me that everyone heard how great Grant Williams was at guarding Giannis. And some tells me Giannis heard that.
And the one thing that it reminds me when I see Grant Williams too, he's also young. You see what I'm saying? So like, if you have an asset like him, who's an undersized based on his height, but has found ways to position his body, his intellect, and now be a part of one of the best defenses in the league. And I can trust you to guard KD and Giannis, but then on the other end, you giving me 20 points like he did in the previous game. Like, he's been a standout player this season.
It is time.
On this
Oh no. You do this every time.
I remember when people thought I was a thug in college because I had a tattoo. It's crazy how times have changed. For Dillon Brooks, I say this often, officials also take the result in account before the result is actually concluded. So if he isn't injured for 2, 3, 4, however long weeks he's going to be out, I believe he doesn't get suspended for Game 3. But since he is injured, it's almost retroactively punishing him because you understand that it's going to affect the Golden State Warriors going forward because you're missing one of their role players. So that's basically the reasoning that I understood that would take place, but also I text people. You know what I'm saying? I text people. And that's why immediately when you said he got ejected early in the game,
suspended for
game
two.
No, I got to stop you, fam.
Well, they need Gary Payton II as well because he's a good defender on John Morant, one of the most, exciting offensive weapons in the game. But let's also not forget that the Grizzlies played most of the season without Dillon Brooks. That great regular season record they built without Dillon Brooks.
Good point. That is a great point. But also that means the emergence of Desmond Bane, who's dealt with an injury, who's also been struggling in the series. They're going to need to get him going. And we're not talking about the big body up front, Steven Adams, who's been out with COVID protocol. Eventually, they hope to get him back in the series. So they've actually been shorthanded. The Golden State Warriors are going to be without Gary Payton II. But Ja was the dominant force.
Yeah, he was.
Like, when you look at really what happened in Game 2, it was almost like he willed this team by all means to tie this series. Now, when you're the Golden State Warriors and you looking at that in the film room and Ja telling Steph it's gonna be fun.
Yep.
I know Steve Kerr. I know they running that on repeat, because that's what the game is all about. And I appreciate that level of competitive spirit. He just buckled.
You always say this about stars. You always say we should win because of you. Because we have you.
Yeah.
They won because they have Ja Morant.
Correct. And also they were daring him to shoot threes. And he didn't say, you know what, I'm gonna work on it this offseason. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm gonna start shooting these things right now. Like, we're not gonna even let that become a thing. You see what I mean? As a player, the psychological portion of the game is so very heavy. Because if you're now allowing them to back up off of you and you purposely not shooting, that gives them a psychological edge. So he purposely started the series shooting the threes, kept shooting the threes, and then gets in the air and double pumps nasty on whoever's guarding him and finishes as he gets 47 in Game 2.
Gary Payton II was starting in this series. So now do you think they start Poole?
You start Poole. You definitely start Poole, who started in the second half, I believe, of game one, but they can interchange it either way. I like having Poole in the game for the obvious reasons. He's a dynamic scorer that could get you 30 points, and he also plays well off of Curry. But the other thing I like about him being in the game is that he gets shots off the dribble, and Clay need that. Like Clay,
Can we talk about Stephen Clay, Jalen?
Let's do that.
Can we talk about Stephen Clay?
Okay,
no one wants to say it.
Oh, yeah. Not so splash, brother.
Not so splashy.
Yes.
Not so splashy in the last two games.
Yes.
Are they going to get it back at home?
I believe so. But they got what they went there for. Like Draymond got all of the fans mad at him, not at the other 14 guys, just like he wants. He got a $25,000 fine that he gonna probably send it to them in pennies.
A lot of podcast follows.
He gonna send it to him in pennies. You know what I'm saying? Do some Saginaw Pride type spiteful. You know what I mean? But in all honesty, I think the Golden State Warriors, under the circumstances that they took game one, gave them a level of confidence knowing that once we get that split, we go back home, our Splash Brothers shoot better, we play better. Even though we're not going to have Gary Payton II, this is where you're going to see other guys like Kuminga get more finishes.
Yep.
Wiggins get more finishes. And that's what him the basketball, that's what helped unlock his intellect, his court vision, but they need him to score the basketball.
Yes.
And that's the change I see. The percentages are down from three. The attempts are down from the free throw line.
Eye test is down.
The field goal percentage in the paint is down. The ability to get to the rim and finish over traffic in and around defenses has been minimized.
Jalen, I know how to fix it.
How's that?
Shave the beard. He's got to shave the beard. He's had the beard for too long. It needs a dramatic change in approach. If he comes out in game 3 with a freshly shaven face, I'm betting the Sixers real quick.
I got to tell you a secret because we've been doing this show 10 years. There was a period of time when I saw him struggle so mightily in the playoffs, when he was having like 13 turnovers, getting eliminated, taking 11 shots against the Spurs, the Lil B curse. I was saying the same thing.
Got to shave the beard.
He kept it. But you know what the Heat keep doing? Playing D, suffocating at that 3-point line.
They did to Trae Young too. This is not unique to James Harden.
So here's something I want everybody to remember. When I say the not so lost art of the mid-range, that's why certain players like a Chris Paul or DeMar DeRozan be out here killing. Because they're not only playing at the 3 line and at the rim. That's how they're guarding James now. At the 3 line and at the rim. He ain't getting mid-range really and pulling up constantly. So I want to give the Heat a lot of credit for their physicality and their defensive prowess. This is an obvious must-win game for the Sixers.
And there's implications beyond just winning this game in this series. There's James Harden's contract. There's the duo, the two of them. There's Doc Rivers. There's a lot on the line for the Sixers beyond just winning a game in a playoff series.
Well, he's a champion, and he's one of the best coaches in the game, but you have to say Doc Rivers' name out loud because when you look on the sideline of the Miami Heat, all you see is player development, nurturing a roster, guys that develop from within. When I look at the Sixers roster, I love the leap that Maxius took, unfortunately for them, and I love what Thibault does defensively. But he's not much of an offensive weapon. Danny Green struggled in the previous game. They didn't do well in acquiring James Harden for Ben Simmons. I don't know how Ben Simmons even passed the physical if he needed back surgery a few weeks later.
And Maxi's the X factor. I was watching the game too, and I literally said, if the ball's not in Maxi's hands, they don't really have someone to get them a bucket. They really don't. If James Harden's playing the way he is, Maxi is so key to them. They're going to need him at home.
Absolutely. And again, the scrambling nature of the Miami Heat defense is making the Sixers uncomfortable.
Yes.
You when I say only took 15 shots, that's a residue of their defense. And that's also him saying, I'll give up the ball, I'll get off the ball. I can't really get a shot off.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
They were doing this to Trae Young too. This defense is so sophisticated. They've got a hybrid zone thing that they do sometimes to just kind of pass people off. They're very, very, very good.
This is like they're zoning up in the hat. The UNLV running Rebels, rest in peace to Jerry Tarkanian, used to do a defense that swarm called the Amoeba D, where they switched everything and no matter what size. They're doing a zone version of that. When James Harden get to the right side of the hoop, you know he want to go dance. That's when you bring the guy and force him to give up the ball. So it's great, again, coaching. So that's why when you're talking about all of the things that are going to be in question if Philadelphia loses this way, that's why you had to say Doc Rivers' name.
Other game tonight, it is the Suns and the Mavs. And game 2, they were just hunting Luka in the second half.
Well, you got to make him work defensively. Number one, because he's an elite, dominant offensive player.
Yep.
Second, he struggles defensively. And you have Chris Paul and you have Devin Booker, two of the best clutch shot makers in the game who have a limited range. And also, they have the autonomy to make sure that they break you down, get the matchup that they want, and then get the shot that they want. Mm-hmm. And so now all of a sudden, you're making Luka work on both ends of the floor, and that's advantage Phoenix Suns. Now, if you're the Mavs, I'm pretty sure Jason Kidd is going to have a remedy for that. Number one, they're going to zone up a little more. You know, we just saw with the Miami Heat. Now, you know that they're doing that to Luka. That means Chris Paul can't turn